Thanks for coming to another office hours session. My name is Matthew. We've got Keith, and we've got some special guests on with us today. We're going to go a little bit out of order than we usually do. We usually like to start off with an open forum session, but since we have some special guest speakers today, we would like to give them all the time and all the attention that we have. So if you have questions, please save them till the end, and we'd be happy to answer them then. But for now, I want to introduce to you all and let them do their own introduction. Jen and Megan from Metrendalytics, and we're really excited to have them on. So you guys can go on ahead and give your introductions and we'll get started.
Well, hello, everyone, and thanks for joining. I know Metrendalytics is a mouthful. The most difficult part of starting a business is trying to figure out that name. And I asked my daughter what would be cool, and she thought a word mashup. Our business platform is focused on metrics, trending, and analytics, and that's where Metrendalytics comes from. It's combining all those elements together. But, we're from the pharmaceutical industry, and I was there for 25 years and really struggled with technology in terms of everyday practice. There was a lot of good investment in that technology for gathering data, but really to manage the business, there was no such tool. So we formed Metrendalytics in 2014, and we started working with a lot of laboratories, managing their operations, and it's been a very successful ride. Thank you.
Very cool.
Hi, my name is Megan Broth. Nice to be here. Thanks for joining, everyone. I have been in the large molecule CRO world for about 7 years, so also in pharma. And I recently switched to working with Jan as a full-time Quickbase developer. But before that, I actually was a client of Jan's for about 4 years and started working in more development and fell in love with the platform. And so that's how I got here.
Awesome. Well, I really like that transition of you fell in love with the platform because when we spoke beforehand, Jen, you had a really awesome story of kind of how you found Quickbase and how you started with that platform in general. And of course, we run our whole business off Quickbase, so we also are in love with the platform. So I was wondering, how did you start with Quickbase?
Yeah, it's such an interesting story. It's like, in this industry, there's always a focus on Oracle or SQL servers. And it's, I was looking for more innovation because you look at other industries and what they're doing, and they're able to move data very quickly back and forth. And I started looking in different areas, and I found this article about the Obama 08 campaign. Just caught my eye, and they talked about how they use this very flexible platform to structure different types of application focused on like voter demographics and all kinds of use cases. And they also talked about how they use the everyday data for business analytics. And that was really the aha moment for me. Because, first of all, okay, there's the platform out there that's so amendable to any type of use case, then I could certainly use this platform for, our needs in pharma. And, back in 2008, nobody was really talking about analytics. So that was really very novel concept at the times, developing applications really for the everyday work and then using that data to identify risks or where your focus should be, streamlined, and all types of other KPIs and metrics and quality indicators. So that really was the light bulb for me. And we've been working with Quickbase since 2008, and it's been really a wonderful platform.
Right. And I love how you worded that, the aha moment. And that's frequently something that we're trying to achieve with our clients as well, is getting people to that aha moment. And it was nice to hear that, just being able to view an article about Quickbase was able to spark your own imagination of how you guys can build out really your own business on Quickbase itself, and really have a platform as your business. It
was also very difficult at the time because like working in the cloud was really the boogeyman, and so. it was hard to sort of introduce it, but yeah, now this is all very commonplace. So
Now,
nice to see that transition.
quick question, and I might not have asked this to you before, but when you first started, did you hire any developers to help, or were you like a citizen developer, I believe is the key word that I quickly.
Yeah. So pretty much taught myself. There was, as everybody knows, there's lots of great material online, and I built the framework of the applications. And then it was about how do we move that data, because we had data residing all over the world in different clinical sites. And we wanted to grab that data on an hourly basis and import it into Quickbase. And so I went out and looked for gig programmers that worked for, Google and, NASA, and were the first two that I hired. And they were like, this is simple baby stuff. Like, they were able to do it right away. And we had a very powerful platform very quickly.
Right. That's awesome. I know that from experience that it can be learned fairly quickly. And I'm sure in 2008, it was, and when you started, it was a big difference from what it is now. It's obviously grown as a platform quite a bit. So when you started building your application, I know that you talked to us about building that repeated framework, something that can be developed over and over again. Do you guys have kind of multiple applications now? Kind of what does your realm look like?
Yeah, so right now we're focused in the laboratory space, and specifically a laboratory, a CRO, which is a laboratory that a pharma company would go to outsource work. And so when you think of a project that comes to those types of laboratory, it often starts with the proposal from the client that here's the work that we want to do with you. And it could be many different, many different line items of that proposal, and then they become projects. And so we follow the whole operations through from the birth of that project, as coming from that proposal to the end. So there really is a host of applications that target that. So I think we're maybe 12 to 15 applications that we have that really is very purpose-built for this space and can be replicated in different laboratories. Of course, there's always some customization, but I would say 80% of the application is almost ready to go.
Right. That's awesome. And it's also good to hear that, you can, of course, customize to tweak based off of the needs that your clients need. And I think that's, one of the best things about Quickbase is being able to modify things on the fly. So that's great to hear. And I guess from what we talked about too, you noticed that in your industry, there was no kind of modern database when you came in.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you mentioned like Oracle and other companies like that. What made you feel, besides the fact that it was so easy to develop, that this modern database, Quickbase, was the right choice for you?
Yeah, so when you think of the laboratory, there is like LIMS and ELNs, electronic notebooks, and they've come a long way since 2008, but they were very antiquated, not very user-friendly. It was very difficult to query the data or report on it or surface that data up into dashboards and high-level views that you could drill down. So the Quickbase platform was very amendable to that. And it was also, I saw it as a glue of information, so that we recognize that a lot of laboratories have made an investment in their technology. So we're not wanting to, we want to leverage that technology and that information and bring it into the platform. And it becomes even more powerful when you could see data, one data set in context of other data. So when it all comes together, it really is, just an amazing tool.
Yeah, right. Like a whole ecosystem, I believe, is the word we used before. And I think that's
yes, we refer to it as an ecosystem. Yeah, one-stop shopping of information.
Right. And I see Megan laughing. Megan, I want to give you some time too to talk about your experience with Quickbase. And you said that you started off as one of Jen's clients.
Yes.
How did that start off with you?
Well, so when I originally started, I can speak a little bit to the industry and just how when you're in an industry that's very regulated and you're not able to get something that's off the shelf, you end up using a lot of spreadsheets. It's, everything's in Excel, everything is separate. You use a lot of paper forms, there's signature requirements and things like that. So when I first started in the industry, that is what my day-to-day life was a lot of different separate inputs. And when Jan came along and brought Metrendalytics into my previous corporation, we were able to start kind of reducing the number of spreadsheets and putting them all within the system, right? So instead of having a multiple places that you're putting, contact information or whatever, right? You have a single input, multiple output system. So that really is where I all about process efficiency. And one of the things I realized as I was working at that company and started doing more things with Quickbase is that's what I really love. And that's what I want to do. And why are we working so hard to do all these different things? So how about we streamline the process and really understand the workflow? And again, that's really the beauty of working within the system.
Right. And I love that answer. And I love how you talk about streamlining the process so that you really understand the workflow. I'm going to be a little bit of a plug here, but I know that we have a couple add-ons with you guys, of course.
Yes.
Can you guys potentially talk to a few of the add-ons you guys use and how that helps you, streamline the process within Quickbase itself? Because, you took it from one level, which was the Excel sheets, and you obviously get to a lot more customization with Quickbase, and you have all of the data in one place. But once that data is in Quickbase, I kind of want to hear how you guys work with us and our add-ons, and I'd be happy to tag in too as well.
Sure. Well, I really think the first and foremost one would be using Exact Form Plus, right? So I spoke to spreadsheets and forms, lots and lots of paper forms. Really, we would be rewriting down all the same information again onto a form, printing it, signing it, whatever we needed to do, right? And a lot of times we wouldn't even type into the forms. They're all controlled. You'd have to print them first. Everything would be handwritten. So one of the things that we're able to do with Exact Form Plus is that we can customize, any of our controlled forms that we would need to for a particular laboratory. And that could cover a lot of different types of information. And then particularly my previous life, I was a client manager and we used them for proposal generation. So speaking of that ecosystem and that cradle to grave, the projects start with proposals. So we need to make sure that that information is correct and it's distributed to the client. So you input all of that, you generate your proposal document, that goes out and it matches the information that's in the system. So that's really critical, right? You want to make sure that whatever you're agreeing to, the client agreed to, that becomes your projects in the system. And then the grave of a project is sample disposition and archival, which we had archive forms for that. So information that was put in the proposal stage and generated on a form was also generated on an archive form at the end of that project's life.
Right. That's awesome. And that's one of the great things about Exact Forms Plus is that you have that peace of mind that the information that you have in Quickbase is going to show up on that form exactly where you want it each time. I don't know your experience level, but have you customized Exact Forms Plus yourself? Have you made your own document templates?
I have, yes, many times. So I also am mostly self-taught and use the Quickbase free educational resources that are out there, and copied a lot of things that Jan taught me how to do. But I've made them myself. I've worked on the tables and kind of configured and built them. And one of the greatest things is, I'm not a trained developer by any means. I have a science background and I was able to do it myself. So very user-friendly interface.
Well, that's awesome. And I agree. I mean, Quickbase itself is super user-friendly. Coming from a business background, when I first started, and Tom and Keith were looking at me like, okay, get started making forms. Mm-hmm. I was a little nervous to start because I didn't have experience with that. I felt like I needed to be, a computer science major, as many of my other colleagues are. But even myself, and as you're saying, you're able to pick it up very quickly, and the resources are there. By the way, we're making a resource right now, if you didn't realize, but these trying to make sure that there's the documentation out there for clients to review so that they have, the ability to do it themselves. So speaking of do it yourself, have you ever had to install Exact Forms Plus from the cloud? I'm not sure if you've used the cloud.
I have not used the cloud. No. I've only copied things over and kind of reconfigured how the fields are, but I've never done it from scratch.
Interesting. Well, we might have to have another call to talk about the cloud. It's a very, very nice DIY system so that you can install it into additional applications or tables with very little trouble. All you need is use a token. So that's
I
pretty
know how
cool.
to use those, so that's great.
Yeah, great. Cool. So, I know that there's a couple other stuff that you have. There's one thing in particular that Keith might not want me to mention here, but I think I want to mention first. And Dylan, who's on the call, I know is going to be biting his thumb thinking about this. You guys in your industry need additional authentication, correct?
Yes.
So I think we have something that we built out for you guys called the auth form.
Yes, yeah. So yeah, I'll speak to that. So this came from Jan reaching out to Dylan, and then I've kind of taken it over. It's morphed, but Dylan has built us a fantastic auth form. Essentially, we need to prove that the person who's signing off on a document or whatever it is, that they are who they say they are. So what Dylan put together for us is we have a separate application that we use that stores passcodes as part of one of those tables that's related to a user ID. So what Dylan was able to do was create a form where you could go through and you could fill out the information you needed to, and then you had to enter in your passcode to be able to do it. And if your passcode's not correct and it's not you and you're not the one who's logged in, then it won't be able to sign off. And that's something that has been requested by clients, due to the regulations.
Right. And I think that also speaks to Keith. If you're talking, you're on mute. But
yeah, I just want to jump in with one question, just for clarity on that. These aren't non-Quickbase users. That they are Quickbase users. You just need an extra level of authentication to make sure that they are who they prefer.
That's correct. Yep, they're still Quickbase users in the system. Yep.
And Megan, so I've come from a background in working with pharmaceutical based software. So is that a part 11? I think it's a guidance or a regulation. Is that what that is? Okay. So
yeah, that's intended to be a part 11 compliant e-signature. We have not done the validation package, all the SDLC documents to support it, but we have developed the functionality. We are using it for master schedule and changes to the master schedule. So if there's any change, that there is a workflow of approval of that change with that secondary signature. And we're going to begin to provide that Part 11 compliance package for these signatures moving forward.
Okay. And you mentioned validation. Is that something you would need us to get involved with, Jan? It's interesting you said that, because that was part of my life way back when.
Oh, really? Well, good to know. Good to know, because it's work that we do, but don't really like to do it.
I know. I hear you. Well, we can help you if you need, Jan.
Okay. Yeah. Great.
Well, thanks, Todd. I'm glad that we're always able to help. So that's awesome to hear. And I know Dylan is on the call. He might be on mute, but great job, Dylan, on that.
Yes, thank you, Dylan.
And we're very glad that you guys are able to use this and get value out of it. So very exciting. So I wanted to plug that in there because I know we spoke about that. You guys do have a couple of other add-ons, but I also want to just speak to kind of, before we go into that, your kind of end user experience, those users in Quickbase. Have you guys gotten any feedback from them about how they like to use Quickbase? Like what their, as someone who's putting data in, what their comments are?
Sure, lots of feedback. Lots of feedback. I mean, for the most part, everything is just very so with anything and with any change, right? And especially in a laboratory setting, if there's change and people are usually a little resistant at first. But the goal of I think a good developer, and when you're coming in with a new type of product, is you really want to wow them with how easy can I make your day. And I was in charge of training. So I would really try to hammer that in when I had new people coming in. And I think, you know, an overwhelmingly positive experience with end users saying, oh, I used to enter this in 5 different times and now I only have to do 1, or I needed to find that reagent. All I needed to do was know the study number. It was connected to a method. I have all my reagents that I need, right? So, you know, just making people's day-to-day lives easier. And then I think the reporting is phenomenal. So all of those features that Jan mentioned, being able to roll things up into dashboards, all of the data that you can pull, the Metrendalytics that you're pulling from everything, that's great from a management point of view, right? Maybe your day-to-day end user, like a laboratory scientist, wouldn't need to know that. But the metrics that are pulled from a laboratory management and director point of view are fantastic.
Right.
Yeah, I agree. And also another thing that we do is we work closely with the end users during the development, which I think really gives them a sense of ownership of the application, because, you know, we're really going through, you know, what is the data that you'd like to see? How would you want to report it? And they're really giving that, you know, direct feedback. So we go through an alpha and beta testing phase throughout each of our developments. And I have to say, with each client that we have engaged with, it starts off very small because they're not really sure what they want to do. And then it grows like weeds all over the place. So, I mean, it goes from 1 or 2 apps to 15, 16 years of engagement. Like what Megan mentioned, we worked with her previous company for 4 years.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. And that sounds familiar too. You know, at least.
Yeah. Like, where can we go next?
Right. There's always another idea, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's great. When people come to testing or they come to training and they say, can you add this? And your answer is yes, they love that, right? You know, can you have that checkbox? Can we filter this way? Whatever they want to do. So.
Right. And I think that's, you know, one of the perks of Quickbase is it's so flexible, so that, you know, no 2 setup needs to be exactly the same. And based off of each individual pharmaceutical company's workflow, they can have it the way they prefer, the way they want to see their data, their information, their reports. And I guess when it comes to each one of these pharmaceutical companies, do they use each of our add-ons? I'm not sure if that's part of, you know, your guys' common setup. And I'm sure everyone uses Exact Forms Plus.
Yeah, that's pretty much the staple of all of our deployments, that we use many of your add-ons to expand, you know, outside of native Quickbase. When you talk about pharmaceutical, the interesting thing is that now that we're dealing with a lot of very large laboratories that have gained growth through acquisitions. And so, you know, through those acquisitions, you know, they have different sites that they recently bought, that they have their own process. So there's really a need for harmonization and standardization. And that's where the platform has been really very fantastic. So, you know, by default that you get those standards because everybody is using the same framework. Sometimes in our deployments, we also focus on local apps, so they can, you know, maybe, you know, one of the locations has different currency, different time zones, so they could have their local apps, and then we roll it up together to master like executive reporting realm.
Right. Very interesting. So I guess based off that comment, how often would you say that a client wants to have their individual apps? Like they see Quickbase and they're like, oh, this is awesome. Can you build us an app for you know,
yeah. We're doing that all the time now. Yeah.
Pretty cool. So I'm sure, Megan, that's a big part of what you do as the Quickbase developer. You come in and you kind of hear what the client's asking for and you build them an app kind of out of the box.
Yeah. I mean, we definitely know in general what we're going to have for our core set of items, and there's a lot of auxiliary applications that we kind of have in our back pocket that we can do. I think I've made quite a few standalone ones at my previous corporation, and then it's always nice to know. Especially if you understand how the industry works and what type of departments you have, we can always make an app for each department. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's the big thing is Quickbase always is pushing, you know, if you have it in one department, why not have it in another? And you know, why have these pieces of data in silos, kind of all individually siloed out, where now you're still transferring information by hand, and you still have to kind of go backwards to be able to get everyone to be having the same information. So having it all in Quickbase, you can have it all connected very easily. So I find that to be, definitely a perk. One thing that I see here too that I don't think we spoke about yet is one of our other document generation add-ons, Excel Docs. Do you guys like, what's your use case for Excel Docs?
I'll let Jan answer that.
We were just giggling about that previously because sometimes it's so hard to rip those spreadsheets from people's hands, right? It's just like they love their spreadsheets. And so we want to be able to give them the output that they're looking for. So very similar to how we use Exact Forms Plus. We can configure any kind of Excel template using your tool, which is very nice to provide those spreadsheets. In the laboratory, particularly for CROs, there's a lot of static reporting that's going back to the client or executive management. Very good use case for that. Even to, present to these meetings for issues resolution. So yeah, there's a good framework to use that as well.
Megan, let me ask you, how do you like setting up the Excel documents when it comes to the configurations and the subtables?
Oh yeah, I mean, very straightforward, right? Same idea as the other one, user-friendly interface, and you're able to set it up. So
well, I'm not sure if Dylan gave you guys a sneak preview or not. I'm just going to do a little shameless plug here too. Dylan's been working very hard on an Excel Docs configurator, very similar to our EFP configurators.
Oh, great. Yeah.
So it's going to become much more user-friendly. And for those of you watching in the future, if this has not already come out yet, it's on its way very soon. And it's going to be a good one. So I'm excited for that because it's going to make everyone's lives a lot easier.
Good.
So the other thing that we're pretty excited about is the texting feature.
Yes.
Which is working on.
Right.
So I don't know, Megan, if you want to share your experience, but as a CRO, you're a client-focused organization, so you want to be able to communicate very readily about project status, and so we've been using that feature very nicely to let the client know that their samples are here, we're beginning analysis, or maybe we're working on their report, so that sort of thing. We are, linking those updates to be automated through our application workflow. So when, different milestones are met, that these text messages go out to the client.
Yeah, absolutely. And Megan, I don't know if you have any comments on that. I don't want to take away from
no, just, and I will speak to the development side of that with your team, and setting that up went very well, and working to make sure, all of the testing and doing alternate phone numbers and all kinds of things like that. So that was a really smooth process, and making sure that automation worked correctly. But yeah, from a use case standpoint, we like to, as much as possible, automate statuses for projects within our system, because then, it's eliminating someone having to come in and say this went from plan to in progress kind of thing. And we use those kinds of triggers within the system that are already adjusting our statuses to be able to send out these notifications to the client. So at the end of the day, it's a service industry, and they want to make sure that they can communicate that information and reassure clients that your project is moving along. And we also set up a survey, things like that, and custom messages, so you can send whatever you need to send to the client. So those are all excellent features.
Right.
Was that well received by your customers? I mean, I know it was something you guys probably wanted to use to try to, foster more communication, but what was your client's perspective on that?
So far, they've been very pleased. I'm not sure how much feedback they've gotten from the other side, and you can reply back to the text messages that are sent out, and we have a text message log that they can view per project, per client. So we'll have to follow back up. That just released a couple weeks ago.
Great.
Awesome. Yeah, that was gonna be one of my questions was, do you have the ability to do the inbound text messages? Because I know
Yes.
that's one of our
Yes.
features.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
we do inbound as well.
Yep, and I know from my experience with the clients that I've helped set up TextMyQ before, one of their favorite parts is that you could see it like a text message chain. So you're really able to see kind of the order of events that people are talking to you, and it makes life and communication really transparent. I know through my personal experience, forget work, but in my personal life, when I get text messages from doctors' offices confirming my appointment, whether it's a dentist office or a surgeon, or even like a laboratory like yourselves, it would be reassuring to know that they're on top of it, that information is correct and on time, in a timely manner, rather than me just showing up, fingers crossed that my appointment is still valid.
Right, right. And I think, we live in an age of there's so many emails and these companies deal with so many emails and the client contacts and everything, right? It's very easy for things to get missed. So if they can distinguish themselves in some way and having the ability to text, everybody has their phone on them, their business phone on them, right? It's a really excellent way to reach the client.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Now, so that with that workflow, you mentioned automating, multiple pieces of Quickbase. I don't know if you have or have not, but have you tried to use exact forms plus batch yet?
I have not.
Okay, very cool. Well, I don't know if Keith wants to speak to that or not, but I know through my experience, exact forms plus batch works just like how you're expecting these triggers to go off for TextMyQB.
Okay.
Yeah, I think most of the apps that you guys have are templated, so you're copying them. That's probably why you haven't really started using the batch processor yet. But the batch processor it's a great way to just have things fire without having to click the button. So that when in the case where things change, statuses change, maybe you need a document generated or something else generated after a status changes, and you don't want to have the user to have to go click the button. It's a great way to automate that process. So sometimes people just get tired of the clicking, because there's so many different things that they're doing inside the app. They just want things to happen for themselves. So
Right.
some of our batch processors kind of make that satisfy that need for less clicking and more automation. So it's definitely something that Matt can certainly walk you through some of the process. And even though wizards in our cloud, the wizard can help you set up the batch processor, so you don't have to really look through our documentation. It'll be done for you through the wizards.
And since we're on the topic, the Excel documents can also get generated the same way. So batch processing it works in many different aspects of our add-ons. So just figured I'd let you know that.
Okay.
Oh, good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and I'm glad Todd mentioned that because I was going to go there next. The ability to automate these workflows, just like you're talking about with the texting, is something that we're working very hard on so that, clients can continue to fill in information and just less button clicks in Quickbase. Everyone is, all about less button clicks. So whatever we could do to make that easier for them, the better.
Yeah.
So I've got some more questions for you guys, and let me know if I'm going outside the bounds of the meeting. If you guys could change one thing about Juiced, one thing about our add-ons, I know I'm kind of putting you guys on the spot here, what would it be? Might be a hard question. Keith might not like that one.
Yeah, that actually is a hard question because your products work very nicely.
Right.
Okay. So how about I'll rephrase it? What's your favorite thing about Juiced technologies?
Well, a client's favorite thing is your exact form plus, because as we said, there's many forms that they use and they really like to continue. Change is difficult. But, for me, I want to push the envelope of having paperless operations, paperless lab. And, for me, there's not much value in creating, all this paper, but, we are regulated and, most of these forms are driven by SOPs. So, it's really good to continue that use case, and then they could generate these forms and they could go into their study files for review by client or by regulatory. But
Yeah,
yeah, that's really a great product.
It's great. One
Hey.
thing that, our products have always grown based on customer feedback. So like your feedback and many other customers. So, so we love hearing what our add-ons can't do as well as what they do. So we're happy that they satisfy a host of needs from your customers, but we don't know what you guys use them for every day. So the feedback you provide helps us make them better. So if you guys, at any given time, like you and all of our customers, we ask, let us know what they're not doing for you so that we can see how we might make some changes to help support you guys to make your services to your customers, your end customers, even better.
Yeah, okay. There's one thing that we talked about a little bit, because another feature that we use from Juice is the DocuSign integration, which is great, and we use it on the business side. But now, we're sort of hitting up a lot of use cases that are regulated, and they require the Part 11 compliant DocuSign. So my question is, do you have any plans on doing any type of integration with that more regulated platform? And is it possible?
Well, Manal, did you hear that question? Manal on our team is listening in. I'm not sure if she was fully focused or not, but Manal?
Yes. No, I did hear that. Yes, I do. I am aware about those options. We can definitely expand our integration and add those features in to add the compliance.
Yeah, because we could go a lot. Yeah, I can think of a lot of use cases for that if we could, if we could move that needle.
Hey, Jan, just curious, what is it that would be offered in that kind of a scenario? Like, what is it that DocuSign offers for that Part 11 compliance aspect? Like, what is done that's differently than the standard signing process?
It's really all around the security and identity of this the signer, because with the regular DocuSign, you could forward that email link to anybody to go in and sign. But this is very similar to what we've developed with the authentication form, that there would be a secondary passcode and a reason for change, and why you what is the reason for entering that data. So there's a lot of documentation around that signature.
Okay, so it's like another form, like, was it like a two-form effect, like a second factor with, okay, 2FA.
Right.
Whoever signs they have to present some sort of identification. They have a couple of types of IDs, identification. So we have to match their ID and to what they have.
Okay.
Yeah. And then signer can sign. So it is very secure, right?
Okay.
Yeah. And from a laboratory perspective, that would be for everything like a plan or a report or, any of those regulated documents. And like Jan mentioned, for right now, we use the DocuSign feature in the business side because you can have a regular DocuSign license for that and it can integrate. So, and that works very well.
Right. I think that's interesting that you say, there's kind of two sides. There's the business facing side, and then there's the pharmaceutical facing side, which is obviously much more regulated.
Yeah.
And you guys certainly aren't alone. I've had plenty of clients, not to plug it in to Manal, Keith, and Todd here, but I've had plenty of clients myself ask for Part 11 compliance as well, because that is just something that will give that next level of authentication, that next level of security. And we all know in today's day and age, that things can be spoofed. ChatGPT can, make it sound like anyone said anything. So, you don't want to have people out there, being fraudulent and signing these documents. And even though it's an online signature and you must think that it's real, it obviously can be still fraud. So definitely something to look into as the world continues to go in that direction to expand with it. So we'll take that as one thing you could change about Juiced Technologies.
But I heard what you said. So as we keep working through, if I think of anything, I'll give you the feedback.
Right. Yeah, please do. And, I tell my clients all the time, we're very open to feedback here. We like to work hand in hand with our clients, because if we can make the solution better for you, it's going to work better for other clients as well. And it's going to help us down the line, just kind of give us those competitive advantages over other people that are out there. So if you're listening in the future and you have an idea, you have something you need or want, please feel free to reach out to us and we'd be happy to help you.
So what's on your roadmap horizon? Is there any new features that you're thinking of, or?
Oh, Keith's got a bag full of tricks. I don't know if he wants to show them all right now.
We got a lot of things on our roadmap for this year. Since we're talking about signing, one of the things we're ready to release probably version 1 for general accessibility, probably by April 1st, around that time, but it's called Juiced. So it's not fully DocuSign, and it's not as entry level as our signatures add-on. It's kind of in the middle. So we obviously don't have the name of DocuSign. Matt sure is one of our
just shamelessly plugging that in here.
But it's going to closely mimic what DocuSign does from a user experience. So like when you use our DocuSign add-on right now, our Juiced add-on is going to look exactly the same, meaning the whole experience of creating an envelope, we're going to call them agreements, but that whole distribution to the multiple recipients, the capturing of the data, bringing it back to Quickbase, bringing the document back to Quickbase, generating a certificate of completion, all of that is going to be in our Juiced add-on as well. So, stuff like Part 11 compliance, that's something that we'll tackle down the road with our add-on. But one of the reasons why we built this one is because a lot of feedback we've gotten from customers is that DocuSign is just too expensive. The cost of generating an envelope is a lot higher using a platform like DocuSign, and because they are the global leader in electronic signatures. But there are a lot of documents that don't necessarily, they still need that workflow in the signatures, but they might not need that heavy back end of a DocuSign to really satisfy the need. So that's why we've come up with Juiced. We're just about ready to release it again. So we're really excited about that one because we've got a lot of customers that are waiting for us to release this. But we have a couple utilities too that we're working on. One's called Query Builder, which is going to actually help generate. It basically is going to help you build queries for Quickbase. So if you ever have to enter in a query in, let's say, Excel docs, we have to do QRY equals, and then that's where you're pulling back the data. We have a query builder that's going to help you build out that stuff. And Dylan's been working feverishly on that one for the past couple months. But it's going to actually even help you generate queries that you might be able to use in pipelines or in some other formula fields.
Yeah.
So where you're doing your own API calls within Quickbase, and you need to have a query in there, and you forget, you didn't want to go back to the API documentation to see, how do I build that query again? Well, this query build is going to allow you to do that, and it's going to be only available to customers of ours that subscribe to some of our add-ons. So it's not going to be an add-on. We're not going to sell it as an add-on. It's going to be like an extra benefit for our customers who subscribe to some of our add-ons. So it's another way we're giving back to the customers that support us, and then we think it's going to be a great little feature for everyone. And we have a couple things on Exact Forms Plus Horizon as well. We're going to be able to support summary queries. So right now you can only produce documents with table queries, so list queries, all detailed data. So we've been a lot of push on summary queries and being able to create that summarized data inside of one of your proposals. Instead of showing all the line items, maybe you just want to show the summary level data and not all the detail. That should be released within the next month or two. And we're working on some charting capabilities with Exact Forms Plus as well. That's still early stages of development there. We're working on some credit card processing functionality. So if you want to be able to charge credit cards for customers from Quickbase, we got a customer-driven project for that.
Keith, you got a big bag full of tricks, man.
We got a lot of things going on. So that's one. And again, most of the things that we work on is based on customers asking us if we can do it. And can we make our add-on better? And these are some of the ways that they're asking us to make them better. And just like you're asking us to build Part 11 compliance into our DocuSign add-on. So we'll put that one on our list, and Manal has done investigation on that. So she definitely knows what needs to be done. It's just a matter of us, putting it in play, and trying to schedule it into the mix of different things that we're doing.
Right.
So if you're looking for another thing for your bag of tricks, the one thing that I find customers do complain about with Quickbase in general is navigation. Sometimes our apps are very complex, connected, multi-app connections. And sometimes when you're adding a new record or, clicking a link, they get disoriented. And so, whatever you can do to help with that navigation ease, maybe inline editing, that sort of thing, straight from a table that you could, pop up and open or, create a new record. These things would be very helpful.
Hey, right now, Quickbase has a big, form redesign going on right now, and that's going to be released within the next, what'd they say, Matt? Within the next
Q2 is what we were told, but
Q2.
yeah.
So
Right.
we don't have a lot of control over their UI. We don't have any control over their UI pretty much, especially since they eliminated the need for allow use of JavaScript.
yeah.
Not that we did it anyway. But their new UI refresh project that they got going on, we're going to sit back and wait to see what that looks like too, because that might help with a lot of the navigation and a lot of the formatting and being able to structure things differently on the forms to be able to maximize the whole width of the page as opposed to some of these top-down forms that you see. They're doing a lot of work. They've been doing a lot of work on this new form redesign. So we can always see what they do with that and see if there's an opportunity for us to get involved. But we haven't done much in terms of navigation or anything like that because we have limited accessibility to the different objects that are available on the forms. There's not much available to us.
But I do like your suggestion, Jen. And so let's see, the inline editing, I think, makes a lot of sense. So let's see what Quickbase does come up with. And if not, I think we can, look at doing something for that in that regard, because I think that makes a lot of sense.
Right. Yeah.
I agree. People get really confused when they end up on a different table and, saving records and the redirects, and, you'd have to change your button code for every single one to redirect to where it's coming from. And, it makes it, I think for us, we're in it so often, you pop back around, where you end up, right? But it can be confusing.
Don agrees. I'll speak for him.
I saw his chat.
Yeah, it's definitely something that they're working on. We did get a little bit of a peek behind the curtain already, just like some of the people watching this are with us. So we do know that there's improvement coming, that they are aware of it. And if Quickbase people are listening to this in the future, take these notes. But I think Quickbase is aware of those things, and they're modernizing their whole platform. If you've seen like adding new fields, for example, they're trying to make that more, I guess hip. I don't know a better word.
Got me a little confused, to be honest. I first saw it.
Yeah.
As you said yourself, everyone is resistant to change at first. These new forms that we got to see are really cool. They're going to make a huge difference. And one thing I will say is potentially be prepared to be redoing a lot of forms, because you're going to have a lot of tools at your disposal. So it's pretty exciting stuff, though. All right. Well, we've got about 10 minutes left. I just want to open it up. I know Don, I saw his comment in there. If anyone has any questions, comments, that they have for Megan or Jan, please feel free to jump on now. I know we have a few of our clients on here who may want to just ask a little bit about your guys' industry or about your guys' applications. So I'll give everyone a second for that. Are you guys both in Florida?
No, I'm in New Jersey.
Oh, right. Come on.
Hey, Jan and Megan, I have a question. I know your industry is very SOP laden. Do you automate that? Do you do you actually generate your SOPs from within apps? Can you, do you not ever want to do that? I'm just curious because I know SOPs are very, they have to be maintained and they have to be managed, and it's living, working documents. And I was just curious how you handle that. Can you do that in Quickbase, or do you?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's a really fantastic use case because you can query the data very easily when SOPs need to be reviewed or retired and, that sort of thing. But there are, when you look at the commercial landscape, there are lots of solutions that are regulated and targeted to that. So many laboratories have already invested in those types of solutions. So we're not generating SOPs through Quickbase, but we do take a listing of the SOPs and who's responsible and what's the review date. And we use it for many of those types of forward-looking reports for review cycles. Also, a lot of the, we do QC reviews and audits, and so we could tag findings against an SOP or form. Again, it is a data-driven approach to how when companies are doing those reviews, you could look at, which one of my SOPs I got so many dings on, or, that I should focus on, correcting it and making sure that, it doesn't happen in the future. But that's typically our use case for SOPs in the system. We're not generating, but we're tracking.
Oh, okay. So you're using Quickbase to do some tracking.
Yeah.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. And I'll plug Dylan again. He made for a training application, he made it so a user had to scroll through and enter a passcode to say that they signed off on something. So if you tried to sign off and you were at the top and you didn't scroll within and officially read the SOP you were supposed to, it wouldn't let you do it. So thanks again, Dylan, for that. That was great. But yeah, I agree with Jan. We don't do any generation, but lots of tracking you can do off of that list.
And training, like she just, that Megan just mentioned, I forgot.
Yep, all the
you have your
training.
SOPs and you need to prove, that users are trained on it. So that's what we.
Right. Training is a great use case. Yeah, where Quickbase can be used for that. Yeah, I see that.
Yep, lots of dates that you can track, right? So you can track when the SOP needs to be redone. What is your training cycle? You can track, training in general is a great use case because, obviously you have all of your people, so you can do things that aren't document based and ad hoc trainings and that kind of thing. So.
That's awesome.
Right. Okay, great.
Well, I love hearing about the use cases. That's one of the biggest things that I find most interesting about Quickbase is just the amount of different industries we work with and different use cases that I'm absorbing and being able to hear. So I'm always happy to hear your guys' take on how you guys use Quickbase and our add-ons. I think everyone who wanted to ask a question would have already. Keith, any comments?
No, just thank you very much, Megan and Jan, for joining us today and sharing some of your use cases and your great uses of Quickbase itself, as well as our add-ons. So we appreciate you taking the
Yes, thanks so much, Megan.
Thank you.
Appreciate
this
that.
was fun.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, really appreciate it, guys. For those of you watching in the future, Metrendalytics, you guys were awesome. We loved having you guys, and we hope we can do this again sometime.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for
attending.
everyone.